Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Banachari. Yamuna Tira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Banachari. Yamuna Tira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gora Premanandi. I'm going to read from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, Transcendental Knowledge, text 10. Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha Manmaya. You want to repeat? Well, you can try if you want. Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha Manmaya Mam Upashritaha bahavo jnana tapasa putamad bhavamagataha. Please repeat. Vita, freed from raga, attachment, bhaya, fear, krodha, and anger, matmaya, fully in me, mam, in me, upashritaha, being fully situated, bhava, many, jnana, of knowledge, tapasa, by the penance, putaha, being purified, matbhavam, transcendental love for me, agataha, attained. Translation: being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me, and taking refuge in me. Many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. Purport: as described above, it is very difficult for a person who is too materially affected to understand the personal nature of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Generally, people who are attached to the bodily conception of life are so absorbed in materialism that it is almost impossible for them to understand how the Supreme can be a person. Such materialists cannot even imagine that there is a transcendental body which is imperishable, full of knowledge and eternally blissful. In the materialistic concept, the body is perishable, full of ignorance, and completely miserable. Therefore, people in general keep this same bodily idea in mind when they are informed of the personal form of the Lord. For such materialistic men, the form of the gigantic material manifestation is supreme. Consequently, they consider the Supreme to be impersonal, and because they are too materially absorbed, the conception of retaining the personality after liberation from matter frightens them. When they are informed that spiritual life is also individual and personal, they become afraid of becoming persons again. And so they naturally prefer a kind of merging into the impersonal void. Generally, they compare the living entities to the bubbles of the ocean, which merge into the ocean. That is the highest perfection of spiritual existence, attainable without individual personality. This is a kind of fearful stage of life, devoid of perfect knowledge of spiritual existence. Furthermore, there are many persons who cannot understand spiritual existence at all, being embarrassed by so many theories and by contradictions of various types of philosophical speculation. They become disgusted or angry and foolishly conclude that there is no supreme cause and that everything is ultimately void. Such people are in a diseased condition of life. Some people are too materially attached and therefore do not give attention to spiritual life. Some of them want to merge into the supreme spiritual cause, and some of them disbelieve in everything, being angry at all sorts of spiritual speculation out of hopelessness. This last class of men take to the shelter of some kind of intoxication, and their affective hallucinations are sometimes accepted as a spiritual vision. One has to get rid of all this the three stages of attachment to the material world. Negligence of a spiritual life, fear of a spiritual personal identity, and the conception of void that arise from frustrations in life. To get free from these three stages of material concept of life, one has to take complete shelter of the Lord, guided by the bona fide spiritual master, and follow the disciplines and regulative principle of devotional life. So let me explain, before finishing the reading all the purport, these three stages of attachment to the material world. Negligence of a spiritual life. Spiritual life is something very important and essential to all living entities, to everybody, to all human beings especially, of course. Because without spiritual life, life has no meaning. I mean, if human beings only live like animals, animals also have the same need we have, to eat, to sleep, to have sex life, and to defend ourselves. But if human being is satisfied only with these basic needs and neglect the spiritual life, how is it better than an animal? In which way? It's just a polished edition of animal life. No? I mean, the dogs run in 4 legs, and human runs in 4 wheels in a car. But they're looking for the same bone. Maybe it looks a little more fancy or whatever. But the same thing. It's just where to eat, where to sleep, where to find a partner, how to get money to defend, to survive in this world. So that's the main worries, most people. But that is not all about life, We humans have more needs. We have spiritual needs. Most people don't even know that they have spiritual needs. Or if they know it, then like they say here, they're neglectful about it. They don't pay much attention to it. So, what are the spiritual needs? Since the body has needs, and we should take care of our needs, of course. We're not denying that. But that's not the all in all. We have all the spiritual needs. And what are those spiritual needs? If we are not the body, we are the spirit souls. The body is just the dress, And the soul is living inside. The soul is eternal, knowledgeable and blissful. But because of ignorance, we forget our true nature, and we identify with the body as the self. But that is not true. We are not these bodies. So the spiritual needs are 3 also. Spiritual satisfaction, spiritual shelter, and spiritual food. Spiritual food, of course, we offer the Lord, the vegetarian bog, and we offer it, and then we distribute, we take everyone. But also hearing about spiritual topics, hearing about Krishna, that's also food for the soul. To hear is very important. And spiritual shelter, in this world nobody can give protection actually to anyone, because doesn't matter how much careful the parents are, if the accident may happen, So it's their duty, of course, to take nice care of their children, but sometimes things that are out of their control. Or anybody, family, friends. So we are all fallible soldiers. The only one who can really give protection is God. Supreme Lord. He can give protection. So shelter, spiritual shelter means that we have some spiritual practice. And we recommend for this age of quarrel and hypocrisy and violence is to chant the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This chanting can give us spiritual shelter. We will feel protected. The actor Peter Sellers, he said that the chanting of Hare Krishna saved his life in a flight. The plane was gonna crash, but he kept chanting loudly, and some or other he was saved. George Harrison said also have an experience like that in a flight. The engine actually got on fire and everything, but he kept chanting loudly. But mostly we get the spiritual shelter that we feel secure, in the sense that even if the body is harmed, the soul is not gonna change. The soul is always the same. The body is changing from boyhood to youth to old age, and at the time of death, the soul just changes to another body. The same way we change from boyhood to youth to old age. The same person, but the body is changing. But the soul is not changing. The soul is always eternal and blissful and full of knowledge. So to know about the soul is very important knowledge. At the university, they don't have a department to study the difference between a dead body and an alive body. What is lacking in the dead body that the live body has? Everything is there, the legs, the hands, the head, everything. So what is lacking? Of course, what is lacking is the spirit soul. Is not material. Matter has no life by itself. It needs the spirit to be alive. So if a child is born dead, no matter what, if they are so advanced, they can inject some chemicals in the body and revive it, but they can't do that because the soul has already left the body. So spiritual shelter, spiritual satisfaction. Everybody is looking for satisfaction, for happiness, for pleasure. But the majority of people don't know where the real happiness is. Imagine somebody is lost in the desert looking for water. He will very difficult to find water in the desert. Practically speaking, impossible. And when the person is too thirsty, he may start hallucinating. He may see a nice lake, and when sometime in very hot days, while driving your car, you may see in the road water, but it's an hallucination. It's not real water. It's a mirage. Once a reporter challenged our Guru Prabhupada, the founder of this movement. He said, the Guru is supposed to know everything. Prabhupada said, yes. Oh, so do you know how many windows are there in the Empire State? You know, Empire State is a very huge building in New York. And you know what Prabhupada said? He said, and do you know how many drops of water are there in the mirage? Which means your question is not very important. The important thing is Guru knows about the spiritual life, about our eternal loving relationship with God, with Krishna. That's what is important. That's the real knowledge. And since Krishna is everything, somebody who knows Krishna, he also knows everything. He doesn't need to know if at 2 in the morning in Japan at the Toyota what do you call, where they manufacture the cars, if something dropped from the car at 2 in the morning, he doesn't need to know that. Krishna knows everything. He's in every atom of creation. But devotee, they just know what they need to know. Prabhupada said devotee should know a little about everything and very much about one thing. Of course, that is Krishna. We should know much more about Krishna. And it's very interesting that Prabhupada explaining that many people have this fear of their, to be a person even after liberation. Because they think to be a person means to suffer, They have no idea that there is a such thing as a spiritual body, which remain young forever and happy forever, and no disease, no death, no suffering, nothing. It's not a fantasy, it's real. And Krishna has a spiritual body, eternal body. Although he's located in his own spiritual kingdom, he's at the same time everywhere in his aspect of Paramatma, or the super soul, and the heart of everyone. We may know our own feelings and troubles and worries and everything, but we don't know other people's sorrows or satisfaction. But Krishna is in the heart of everyone, and he knows perfectly everything. So if somebody is looking for answers, a human being should have inquisitiveness, because we are different from the animals in the sense we can inquire about the truth. Who am I? Why I'm suffering in this world? Who is God? What is my relationship with Him? What happens after death? Only humans can ask those kind of questions. But unfortunately, very few humans ask those kind of questions. Very early in the morning, you hear on radio, on TV, people just talking about politics and sports and entertainment and wars and this and that. But nobody's asking about the most important question in life. People don't want to speak much about God or spiritual life much nowadays. Became out of fashion. But in the middle of the desert, there is what you call not the mirage. We already spoke about the mirage. Oasis. So Prabhupada said that the temples of Krishna is like oasis in the middle of the desert. You can come here, then you hear about the most important thing in life. How to revive our original spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness. How to experience real happiness, spiritual happiness. How to feel secure, satisfied, peace, having peace of mind. Nowadays, people's mind very disturbed by so many things. That's the most common disease in this age. People are very mentally disturbed or unsatisfied, and some people take shelter in suicide because they can't bear it anymore. But that's not a solution, of course. That's worse than the solution itself. It's like if somebody tried to escape prison before his time. If he is caught, then he's put in a very, horrible cell to learn his lesson. So in the same way, people who commit suicide, they have to take they remain in a ghost-like body, subtle body, material but subtle. And they have the same desire, but they can't enjoy because they have no gross body. They can't touch anything. So they suffer all the time. I mean, once I saw a documentary about that, and one lady, she was telling her story that she suffered from depression, and she had a family, she was married, have children, and one day out of excessive depression, she took, a bunch of pills to kill herself. And she said that she had an experience that she saw herself in a place full of people who have done the same thing as her. And all of them were like in great anguish and suffering a lot, mental disturbance. And suddenly she saw somebody surrounded with a light, a person came to talk to her and told her, what you did was very wrong, and I'm willing to give you another opportunity. So you choose. Do you want to stay here with this disturbed people, or you want to go back to your family? She said, oh, please, I want to go back to my family. So she woke up in the hospital. They washed her stomach. They saved her, So she said the experience changed her life. She would never attempt such a thing again, And nowadays you've heard about reincarnation, of course. Most of you nowadays is a very common idea, More than an idea, is a fact, undoubtedly. While traveling, sometimes in the airport, I saw an advertisement of insurance company, and they were using reincarnation as the subject, So they show a big city with big buildings and airplanes flying, And in one small street, there was one lady sitting on a chair in front of her house, making a sweater, And one man passing through with this musical machine, what they call it? That they play music with the box, there's a musical box. And he had a helper, a little monkey, with a little hat, the monkey. And he was asking people money, He was going around asking people money. And he went to this old lady and told her, Mom, it's me, Robert. Take this $20 before the men see me. Take it. Robert, what happened to you? Why you became a monkey? And he said, Mom, I had a car accident and I died. And because I was such a bad person, I took the body of a monkey now. But I'm very sorry, before I died, I didn't buy the insurance for you. So they're using the reincarnation. And also the teaching that if you misbehave, it's not sure that you will be human next life. If you are a bad person, you may lose your human form in next life, So, but if you have practiced spiritual life, Krishna consciousness, at least you have assured the human life, human body next life. That's for sure. So it's very important, to cultivate a spiritual knowledge and have a spiritual practice. Both things are very important, Because nobody can give up something unless have something better to replace it. Children at the beginning don't want to go to school. But once they start learning, they start to like it, When they start learning A, B, C, D, and all mathematics and things, when they start to develop taste for learning. So nobody has to force them to go to school. They want to go to school, isn't it? So in the same way, if we experience something higher, then naturally the other lesser things become less important. General devotee, they overcome easily bad habits like smoking, drinking, eating meat, and promiscuity and all those things. They give it up naturally because they have developed a higher taste, greater satisfaction. So let's finish reading the purport. The last stage of the devotional life is called bhava, or transcendental love of Godhead. According to Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu, the science of devotional service, ādau, śraddhā, tataḥ, sādhu, saṅgo, bhajana-kriyā, tato, nartha-nivṛttiḥ, syāt, tato niṣṭhā, rucis, tataḥ, athāsaktis, tato, bhāvas, tataḥ premābhyudañcati, sādhakānām, ayaṁ, premṇaḥ, prādurbhāve, bhavet, kramaḥ. In the beginning, one must have a preliminary desire for self-realization. This will bring one to the stage of trying to associate with persons who are spiritually elevated. In the next stage, one becomes initiated by an elevated spiritual master, and under his instruction, the neophyte devotee begins the process of devotional service. By executing the neophyte devotee begins the process of devotional service under the guidance of the spiritual master, one becomes free from all material attachment, attains steadiness in self-realization, and acquires a taste for hearing about the Absolute Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. This taste leads one further forward to attachment for Krishna consciousness, which is matured in bhava, or the preliminary stage of transcendental love of God. Real love for God is called premāḥ, the highest perfectional stage of life. In the premāḥ stage, there is constant engagement in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So by the slow process of devotional service, under the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master, one can attain the highest stage, being freed from all material attachment, from the fearfulness of one's individual spiritual personality, and from the frustrations that result in void philosophy. Then one can ultimately attain to the abode of the Supreme Lord. So this is the spiritual science, very nicely explained. The first stage is called śraddhā, beginning, ādau śraddhā, beginning, faith, a little faith. Oh, must be something important, interesting in this Krishna consciousness philosophy. Let me try to know about it. That's a little faith, ādau śraddhā. Then one start to associate, look for the company of the people who are practicing spiritual life, who are interested in developing spiritually, grow spiritually. So by that company, one's desire becomes more intensified, and then one starts practicing the chanting, and reading, chanting, reading, hearing, having conversations, and inquiring, asking questions, like that. Then once develop more faith and once want to be initiated from a bona fide spiritual master. And under the guidance of the spiritual master, one learn how to give up the bad habits, and develop good habits. So unless one is serious about spiritual life, one doesn't need a guru. A guru is not a fashion that now everybody has guru, I have also one. No, that's not like that. Only for those who are spiritually very interested in growing spiritually, they need a spiritual master. So, and then when overcome his weaknesses and attachment and bad habits, then one becomes steady, and that's called niṣṭhā. Niṣṭhā means firm faith, becomes strong. And then start developing ruci. Ruci means taste. Taste for the spiritual practices. Feel satisfaction in chanting and hearing and doing any kind of service to the Lord. He relished this, you know. And then comes asakti. Asakti means he becomes very much attached to Krishna and Krishna service. There is attachment. And when there is attachment, naturally the detachment from material things becomes very easy and natural, you know. Everybody is attached to so many things in this world. Sometimes people ask me, how can we become detached from so many things? I tell them this analogy. Suppose two friends are walking on the street, and one friend tells the other, do you see this BMW car? I renounce the car. Do you see this beautiful girl passing through? I give her up. Do you see this beautiful house? I give her up. Of course, not yours, and easy. So it's easy to give up material attachment if they are not yours, isn't it? So in the same way, when we understand actually nothing is ours, everything belongs to Krishna. I may have something but it doesn't really belong to me. Just under my care. But if I die, I'm not going to take it with me. I mean, that's for sure. So knowing that nothing belongs to us, everything belongs to God, to Krishna, then it's easy to be detached. Like the men who say renounce the... Isn't it? One devotee told me that sannyasi should all ride a BMW, which means we are not interested in those things, but which means body, mind, and word. BMW. Engage the body, mind, and word in Krishna's service. Anyway, so then what happens then? When you develop this attachment, spiritual attachment, becomes easy to become detached. No? And then after that, one starts to have spiritual feelings. Bhava means like ecstasy. Ecstasy. You know? Drowning in an ocean of happiness. So who doesn't want that? Everybody is looking for happiness in this world, but nobody knows where real happiness is. Some people think happiness is in sex life, or the money, or intoxication, or having many, accumulating many things, you know. But that things don't give you happiness. Just may give you some comfort, some kind of so-called security. And there is no security in this world. We may leave any moment. We don't know. Is it? So, perfect detachment from this world we see in the person of Lord Shiva, you know. Lord Shiva is always meditating on Krishna. You see his picture, he's sitting down in meditation. On whom he is meditating? He's meditating on Krishna, Supreme Lord. And he lives under a tree. You know. Once his wife Parvati told Lord Shiva, my dear husband, now we have 2 children, Kartikeya and Ganesh. Don't you think we should have a house? And Lord Shiva said, yes, why not? Okay, let me call the architect, Vishvakarma, the architect of demigods. He came. Please make me a nice house, you know, with a lot of ornament made of gold and silver and very opulent house. Yes, he did it. Beautiful house, big house. And Lord Shiva invited all the sages and demigods for the inauguration of the house. All of them came. They have a wonderful festival. And at the end, Lord Shiva was giving charity to the brahmanas, you know. And the last brahmana in the line, he asked him, what would you like me to give you? Oh, I like this house very much. It's very beautiful. Okay, it is yours. They went back under the tree. So that's perfect detachment. You can give something like that. It's not easy, you know. Unless you have something much, much higher, more satisfactory. No? So, I would like to hear from you now if you have any comment or questions or any doubt. We will pass the mic around so you can make your questions. So please do. We would like to have a little conversation with you. That's part of our Sunday program, that we interact with our guest. All right? Yes, please pass the mic to her. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, you said that we should, when we give up our material attachments, we develop taste for devotional service. Is it okay to take some time to give them? Of course, we try, but there's also some resistance to giving up our material habits or desires or attachments.
Yeah, so it may take some time. See, in the Purport Prabhupada said, the slow process of devotional service. How slow depends on each and one of you, and each one of us. You know, you may go at the speed of a tortoise, or that depends on how much you want to go. You know. Actually, sometimes the devotee asks me also this question, you know, it's difficult to become detached, you know, from things. So I tell them, look, actually, you have to become detached from the desire to become detached. In the sense, if you feel that something is mine, I need to be detached from it, that's the problem. There is nothing to be detached from because nothing belongs to us. So once we understand that nothing belongs to us, everything belongs to God, to Krishna, there is no question of detachment. You are already detached because you know it doesn't belong to you. I mean, Bhakti-rasāmṛta Thakur is a great acharya, pure devotee of the Lord. He was married, he had 11 children, 12, and he was a magistrate. He was, in court. He was... But he never felt he was the owner. He said, my dear Lord, if I work to maintain the family, because this is your house, this is your children, this is your wife, I'm here only your servant. So that's the perfect detachment. It doesn't mean you give up things. You give up the mentality that they belong to you. You don't have to give them up. You still, you don't have to give family or friends. We are not telling people to do that. But give up the mentality that something actually belongs to you. That's what we need to give up. Then everything else is fine, you know. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his prayer, beautiful song, he said, Manasa deho geho yoki chumor arpiluntu apade Nanda Kishore. Dear Krishna Nanda Kishore, I offer you my body, my mind, my home. That's everything. Isn't it?
But sometimes, Maharaj, we are hesitant to surrender completely. We are hesitant to surrender completely.
That's true. That's why there is a slow process of the spiritual devotional service. We should keep practicing. Gradually we will understand. You know. Actually, there are 9 processes of devotional service. The first 7 is for everyone, but the last 2, making friendship and surrender completely, that happens when we become pure devotees. So we have to practice to reach that position of pure devotees. Then it will be easier to fully surrender. It will take some time, but depends how much we are eager, you know.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Yes, back to Joseph.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I've been asked to ask a question. Okay. Can someone make spiritual advancement in spiritual life without accepting a guru?
Well, I mean to say, nobody can be without a guru. That's the main point. I mean, if you read Prabhupada's book, you're accepting him as your spiritual guide, isn't it? So he's a guru, you know. So, and what he says in these books, you look for a bona fide spiritual master. That's what he says in the books, you know. You know, chant, read, hear about Krishna, and be inquisitive, you know. And when you're ready, Krishna will guide you to a guru who will help you to understand more about how to grow spiritually, you know. But without guru, there is no way to be without a guru. Once you are interested in the spiritual life, you know, naturally you need somebody to guide you. First, you make friendship with devotees, inquire from them, then read the books, you know. And then the books are telling you what? You know? Krishna what says in the Bhagavad Gita? He says, what is that verse? Tad vidhi pranipatina pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnanis tattvadarshinaha. Just try to find the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire submissively and render some service, because self-realized soul knows the truth and can impart knowledge to you. So if you ask question, you have to wait for the answer. That means the guru must be present, and the planet at least. You know. Hare Krishna. Yes.
It was really wonderful. You answered the question I had when you broke in the purport and you talked about those 3 aspects that materialists get held up with. That was like the burning question I had, and you so expertly paused, knew we were probably wondering about it, and then you answered that question right there. So that was great. I did have 2 questions. One is, we talk about spiritual shelter as being one of the needs of us as spiritual people. You're an initiating guru. Is that shelter? Does that count as shelter?
Well, actually, the guru, his representative, the one who can give shelter is Krishna. But the guru is the via medium, you know. He's the via medium.
Because we say take shelter of. I'm taking shelter of.
I mean, the best friend is the person who presents to you who is your best friend. Krishna is your best friend. Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita. I am the friend of everyone. So the person who tells you Krishna is your best friend, that's your best friend too. So if you're looking for shelter, the Guru can guide you how to take shelter of Krishna. Then he's also become a shelter, in the sense he's teaching you how to take shelter. No? You take shelter of his teachings, of his instructions, and what he's guiding you to come to Krishna, to become his sincere servant, via medium. It's not like a messenger, Right? He gives the message. What do you call the man who delivered the mail? Postman.
Yeah.
He just delivered the letters to you. He doesn't change anything or add anything, doesn't open the envelope, just as he receive it, he give it to you. So in the same way, the Guru means he doesn't change anything, doesn't add anything, or subtract anything. He just delivers the message as it is. And he's practicing it as it is. Otherwise, he can't teach. If somebody doesn't practice what he's teaching, then he's not Guru. Once a reporter asked Prabhupada, "What do you think about bad gurus?" And Prabhupada said, "If he's bad, he's not Guru." There is no such thing as bad gurus. Maybe he met some bad gurus.
So we have time for one more question. Do we have one? Okay.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Please do.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj Dandavat. I am from Zoom. Thank you, Maharaj, for a wonderful class. And I wanted to ask one question regarding, like you mentioned about guiding, Krishna guiding us. So we may have a lot of material desires, we may have spiritual desires, and we may pray to Krishna, Krishna, please guide us on that path, whatever is right for us. So how do we actually understand that direction, that guidance may come from our own minds, right? Because we are inclined to certain things, we may think, oh, Krishna wants this, that's why I should do this. So how do we basically understand it, what is coming from Krishna and what is being misdirected by our minds?
Once a devotee asked Prabhupada, "Prabhupada, I have this idea. Is it my mind or is it Paramatma or is it Krishna?" Prabhupada said, "It is your mind." Because if you are not sure, it means your mind is speculating.
What if we're sure? It still could be our mind.
No, I mean to say,
I can be surely wrong.
you can be surely wrong, that's true, but that means you are cheating yourself. But somebody who's honest, we are speaking about devotees who are practicing spiritual life, they are supposed to be honest, understand? So, of course, I can also consult, the Guru and the scriptures and the saintly persons. If you have doubts about something, we also have to, seek help, like now you're asking me, how do I know if it's not my mind or Krishna telling me? A very simple way to know. If that makes you more desirous to serve Krishna, to come closer to Krishna, that's from Krishna. But if that distracts you from spiritual life, then that's your mind. Very easy way to know.
Very nice. Thank you, Maharaj. It was perfect. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for a wonderful class. This is Bhakti Sundar Goswami's only time on the Sunday Vyasasan, so if we could give him a nice warm round of applause during this visit.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. I will be giving Bhagavad Gita tomorrow, 7 p.m. You can come or see it on Zoom also, or YouTube if you like.
So invite your friends, please. Yeah.
Okay.
And yes.
Yeah, during the week maybe. I don't know, Balaram must know. I mean, during the week.
So it's a great week to visit the temple. Please do.
All right.
And now we'll have another round of kirtan, so if everyone can
Share this
stand.
chant and be happy. Hare
Jai.
Krishna. Thank you for coming. Hare
Haribol.
Haribol.